Welcome to the Metal Voice. Today on the show, the one, the only, the legendary, Mr. Michael Schenker. What's going on, sir?
A lot. I've just spent all through December promoting our new album, Michael Schenker Fest Resurrection, and I'm currently in the States, in Los Angeles, and speaking to you, and we're leaving on the 20th to go to Japan and promote the album, and then going back, sitting back together with my organization and selecting offers.
Perfect. So right off the bat, the new album, the Michael Schenker Fest, featuring Graham Bonnet, Gary Barden, and of course Robin McAuley. Tell me about the musical direction of this album compared to the last few albums that you made.
Well, you missed out Doogie White. So Doogie White's a very important addition, which was not on the DVD. But before I did the Michael Schenker Fest in the first place, I was actually doing Michael Schenker's Temple of Rock with Doogie White singing and Herman and Francis from the Scorpions, the rhythm section, and we did two live DVD CDs and two studio albums, Michael Schenker's Temple of Rock. So that was the thing we did from 2000, around for 4 or 5 years. We were constantly touring and recording, etc., until I said we better to have a break, and so have a bit of distance because we were around every year constantly, and so basically I actually started putting one leg in the scene in 2008. 2008 something happened. I was always stage fright. 2008 all of a sudden I wanted to be on stage, and I took that as a sign. So that's when I started putting one leg in the scene again, in the loop of rock and roll, and started to develop very quickly back to the towards the level and the point where I left off when I was 23 years old after Strangers in the Night and Love Drive in '78. I experienced fame and success in its highest, and I was able to make the decision to carry on, trying to keep the fame and all of that, or just to let go of it, and just experiment with music and do what having fun with music, experimenting, getting things out of my system, focus more on life and stuff like that. And that's what I did in my middle years. And so basically everything that I have done, right from the beginning of my life, the music, followed me around. It's like a baby. When I first touched the guitar, I was born. I mean, not I was born, but on a musical level, I was born. And I developed ever since, and it just still continues. The middle years needed to be there to get things out of my system because I had just overflow of creativity within myself, and I wrote albums. You could write like 20 albums out of. There were so many riffs on them, going from one thing to another. And so all of that needed to take place, and so it's all a continuous development, and I call it like stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3, and I'm now in the third part of my life. The middle years were the most rewarding because they actually prepared me for what's happening now. And of course, the first part of my life was very important because I made my music a contribution, and I developed as a part one as a guitarist. And so the middle years was to learn, digest, get out of my system and learn and so on. And then now the third part is the celebration time, where I decided, it's time for me to perform Michael Schenker music, the most popular Michael Schenker music with original singers, because, even with Doogie and Temple of Rock, I had Doogie sing UFO songs and MSG songs and so on. So now that I was having the idea of getting all these different lineups that I created over the years, where I put all my energy into, putting it all together on one center point and making it a very powerful, creating a very powerful impact, which is basically nothing different than having one band and never change the lineup. And you put all your energy into it, and you're creating a brand name over the years if you stay together for 40 years or so on. And so basically, I collected, basically I picked all my bits and pieces where I put energy into and put them all into one pot and let that energy, also the interesting part that comes out of that is that you're putting all these different chemicals together, you get another chemical reaction on top of it, which is just unbelievable, because you have 4 singers with 4 complete different voices, and you put them on one album, and for the hardcore fan, it must be just amazing to, time travel and go from 1980 to 19 whatever, and hear the different voices and recognizing them and say, this is Gary, and so on. And so I even find it very entertaining, and especially hearing songs where they all sing together like Warrior,
How many songs do they sing together on the album?
Yeah, well, it's like this. I actually wanted like 3 or 4, and then we ended up like a combination, even stuff that we didn't even think of that was actually happening. So we ended up with Warrior, having everybody sing lines, and Last Supper, having everybody sing lines. But then we also combined backing vocals, Doogie with Gary, or Doogie with Gary and myself, Graham with Robin, and all sorts of different combinations. So we actually have everybody's in somewhere on the songs, so, but not dominatingly, but backing vocals are not that dominating, but still it gives you a chemical reaction. It makes a difference if you have, Doogie, Gary, and Robin sing together, backing vocals, versus Chris and Steve and I sing backing vocals, and stuff like that. So we got additional colors by doing an unforeseen thing, and so in the end, it's just kind of, you have actually because you have 4 singers, you have an additional chemical reaction in like versus a normal band with 1 singer. Where usually, like, I fell in love with, the combination of great singer, great guitarists like Jeff Beck, Rod Stewart, or Jimmy Page, Robert Plant. And so you put these 2 together, you get a chemical reaction. It either works or it doesn't. And usually the ones that work, they stay together.
What about Kirk Hammett?
If they can, unless they have a personal clash, But usually, when they find each other, a great guitarist and a great singer is the key factor in the rock music anyway for me. And of course, John Bonham is my favorite musician. He's a drummer, but he's my favorite musician because he's just phenomenal what he does on his drums. It's almost playing like an instrument that makes notes and tones and the feeling and everything, So it's just very strange that he, out of all the musicians, became my favorite musician. But so it's just like, but the main thing was for me always, and the focus on, the art of lead guitar playing with pure self-expression. That's what my thing is. And using metal music as a screen and painting the art of lead guitar with pure self-expression on it. And so, that's what also this album is about. But here it's not 1 singer, here it's 4 singers. So I'm doing this with 4 singers. And because I'm writing from within, there's always fresh sparkles put all over the place. And because of the uniqueness of the different voices, of so many different variety of voices.
What about Kirk Hammett? How did you get in touch with him?
Yeah, Kirk Hammett, he was a must. Kirk Hammett was a must, his final destination. It started all with me being his Santa Claus, Peter Mensch told me. And eventually Kirk wanted to meet me and jam with me, and so they put it together, Eddie Trunk and the management and Kirk, they worked on arranging that metal show where Kirk and I jammed together, and then Kirk came to a few days later. He joined us on stage and jammed with us again. So Kirk, a fan became a friend and plays in the biggest band in the world. And I said, "Okay, Kirk, are you ready? Do you want to do this?" And he says, "Yes, let's do it." And so that's how it goes. It's a completion. It's actually a completion for Kirk as much as it is a pleasure for me having a guitarist of one of the biggest bands in the world on my record.
Graham Bonnet, who you just started a tour with back in 1981, 82, I guess. Now you're reuniting with him on record. It's incredible.
If the master is ready, if the student is ready, the master will show.
Did you ever? Have you ever said to yourself that, man, I shouldn't have fired him back in the day. Maybe it was too hard on him.
I didn't fire him.
He quit?
I really never fired anybody.
So what happened?
The fire business is something people like to make up. But anyway, I don't keep people on retainer, and so most of the different lineups happen because when I don't record and I can't afford to keep people in the band, they look for other musicians and they create their own new bands, etc., etc. But with Graham, it was a complete different story. With Graham, it was the most unusual thing that ever happened in my life, to making a great record which became a musician's favorite with a fantastic rhythm section, a fantastic vocalist, and a very great chemistry, and a fantastic producer. And so, and here you are trying to be on stage in Sheffield, playing starting your set, and 15 minutes into the set, I guess, I'm playing a solo, and when I look back to the center, Graham was gone, and apparently he exposed himself or whatever, and he just flipped, or I don't know what happened. I never actually even tried to find out. He was gone, and we had a wedding festival coming up 3 days later, and the show must go on, and so we asked Gary if he could come back and sing.
So he just disappeared? He just disappeared off the stage and that was it? That was strange. Oh my God.
I have no idea. I never saw him again. Okay. I don't know where he went.
Okay. You didn't...
It's the most peculiar thing.
You didn't try to call him?
I didn't even see him afterwards. I didn't even speak. I don't know. I don't even know if the drummer saw what he did. I think the audience know more about it than I do or anybody in the band. Because we play our instrument, we are focused on our music. I think the audience are the best to explain what they think what happened.
Well, the good news is you're back with him, right? And you're recording music.
Yeah, and he's Assault Attack is one of his, proudest productions or involvements that he has been in, And the funny thing is also that when we did this record, Chrysalis Records, who was our record company, they moved office, and because they were busy moving office, the Assault Attack record actually didn't get the attention it deserved, but it might as well happen that way because Graham didn't even finish a show, so maybe this album was just something that was like a teaser for things to come in the future.
That's a good way to put it. That's a good way to put it. I recently saw UFO, and I guess the question that people ask me to ask you most of the time is, would you ever consider, doing a reunion show with UFO?
Well, yeah, first of all, 2018 is the reunion it's the 30th anniversary of Strangers in the Night. And so during the Michael Schenker Fest with all original singers, let's look at this one. Let's look at maybe Phil Mark would be available or interested in singing a few Strangers in the Night songs with the Michael Schenker Fest on some festivals. And then in 2019, we have the anniversary of 50 years of recording of Klaus Meine and Michael Schenker. So maybe Klaus Meine considers at some point showing up at one of those shows with the Michael Schenker Fest in 2019, singing my first ever written music, In Search of Peace of Mind. So let's start there and see where that goes, and the rest will,
I like it. I like that idea a lot.
Yeah.
Last time I spoke to you, it was like maybe a year and a half ago. You're upset your brother because of the re-release of Love Drive.
Oh, my brother is another story. My brother is a cheat, so that's another story. I just stay away from him. I'm not bitter with him, but what I found out about him is disrespectful, disgraceful, and let him be who he wants to be. I just can't trust him, and I just stay away from him as far as I can, because he rips me off wherever he can, because he knows what I do always has got value, and he hasn't got ideas on his own. He stole my image. He copied everything I did ever in his life, and so if he wants some goodness coming out of this, he has to clean his side of the street. But that's up to him. I just need to stay away from him as far as I can. But that has nothing to do with Klaus. Klaus is a pure soul. He is the only artist in the band. He's carrying the whole Scorpions. And Scorpions, who is the Scorpions anyway? Scorpions is made out of different eras and has different foundations. That's why Scorpions is still a big name. Scorpions has a foundation. It's a cake with the icing. Only because I was the first guitarist in the band with Klaus Meine, a great singer. I was only 15 years old. I was called the Wunderkind, and I was playing, developed guitar already as a 15-year-old. So for the people who fell in love, with a great guitarist, great singer type of concept, the Scorpions were already recognized as an international, very, very high potential, successful band, and that was based on Klaus Meine and myself. I wrote most of the music in Lonesome Crow. My ever first written song was In Search of Peace of Mind. The Scorpions, Rudolf mainly, he credited himself. He had nothing to do. I wrote the song in the kitchen of my mom's. Rudolf wasn't there, so I don't know why his name is on there as a writer. So he's 7 years older than me, and I never looked at it that way when I was, but today when my sister said to me, Rudolf is a greedy wanker, it kind of raised concern of what's going on. And when they approached me with a 2015 Scorpions box and presenting the completely false Love Drive story or bio, I was very disappointed. They lied about everything. I was the one that helped them out, that opened the doors for America for the Scorpions. It wasn't them helping me. I mean, people who are involved in rock music and who know much about me and about Scorpions, they know the truth, But the people, the newcomers from China and Russia, they think that Love Drive was developed and put together by the Scorpions themselves, because they even leaving my name out. I was I had a contract for Love Drive as a sixth member of the band. There should have been a picture in there. There should have been, they should have mentioned that I wrote the intro to Holiday, which is a 40-second setup that sets up the mood for Holiday, which was one of the most successful ballads ever of the Scorpions. Then there is Coast to Coast, which Rudolf asked me if I would give my portion of the composition to him. I wrote all the melodies on Coast to Coast. So I said, well, you my brother, why not? I gave it to him. But when my sister said what she said, and I read the Love Drive story, and I look back and see why did Rudolf ask me if he can play the black and white guitar? Why didn't he mention that I wrote the beginning to Holiday? Why did I not get a picture on the Love Tribe album, being the sixth member of the band? Why did he want my portion of Coast to Coast belong to him? And why did he dye his hair blonde? And why did he want to play my black and white guitar? You can figure out the rest yourself, you know. And so basically, he was pretending to be me, you know. And because I made the decision when I was 23 years old that I didn't need the, you know, that holding on desperately on to success and fame, because I'm a real musician and I was more interested in dealing with, you know, expressing myself as an artist. I never even looked back at the Scorpions, looking what they did with the Love Tribe album. I only found out all of these things after my sister said Rudolf is a greedy wanker. That raised concern. When I wrote the false Love Tribe story bio, then I went like, wow, maybe my sister is right after all. Then I analyzed all these things I just told you. You know, look, Rudolf is 7 years older than me. I was 15 years old, and Rudolf was already 21. He already ripped me off then by crediting himself for a song that I wrote. Do you think Rudolf gives anybody his share of songwriting that he wrote? No, he wouldn't. But he ripped off his younger brother. It's disgraceful. Yeah. Would you like that if you had an older brother who would do that to you?
No, I would not.
No? Okay, I don't think anybody would. Okay, so let's just leave it as such. Let everybody form their own opinion. It's a natural, you know, that this is disrespectful and it's taking advantage of a younger man, of a younger boy, and it's basically bullying him and trying to control him and making him his property. And when I didn't stay with the Scorpions, when I opened the doors for a Love Tribe for America, he became nasty because, you know, he thought he had me. You know, I created a big, you know, with UFO, we had our first hit with Lights Out in '76. The Scorpions, they were not even playing in America. It took them another 10 years before they played America. And then they lied about everything and making it look like, you know, oh, Michael, I had to keep Michael in the band. It's my brother, to justify Matthias sucking him twice. It's all made up stories, you know. He's just that kind of a guy. And he cheated and, you know, he bullied his younger brother, 7 years to be precise, who was an artist, not looking for money. You know, Michael Schenker never wanted to be famous and successful. Michael Schenker just wanted to have fun with music. And Rudolf Schenker is a desperate wannabe who ripped his brother off and even went as far as taking credit for his younger brother's songwriting. Is stupid, okay? So let's forget about that guy until he understands that it's not all about rat race and money and being famous and being, you know, being it. There's more to life than you know, just being rich and famous and having money.
So let's just switch gears. Let's go to some positive note and go to your Michael Schenker Fest tour.
It is positive, you know, by the way. It's positive that I found out about it and that I can now feel, you know, let go of it. And it has nothing to do with bitterness, but it has to do with that he can be helped by me actually. Having it exposed will help him in the end, realizing what he did, which will complete his life in a positive way. This is all positive because, first of all, I'm a positive person, and I'm not bitter about this. I'm just making sure what every normal brain would decide to do. If you get ripped off and you get bullied by somebody, what do? You stay away. Okay, and that's what I do. And so you hope that a person that has done wrong things in the past at some point wakes up and putting things straight, like the 12-step program, for instance, you know, like alcoholics do, anonymous alcoholics. They go through, they admit what they did, and then they straighten it out all again to become peace, to find peace within themselves, because you can't have peace within yourself if you have created a fabricated success story that actually you can never be happy about, because you know within yourself that it was fabricated. So therefore, Rudolf will have a long life, and because of my openness about it and the openness of my sister, it will make it a positive outcome for him, because he will find the way back into the light and will understand, especially with his new family and his new baby. He will see in the eyes of his child that there is more to life than just cheating success. And that's why it's a positive thing, because it will help him finding peace and happiness for himself that is real.
Did you really look up to your brother when you were young, very young? Did you look up to your Rudolf?
I just looked at the guitar constantly. I was running around with the guitar, and Rudolf was running around with the bullwalker. You know what a bullwalker is?
No, I don't.
It's something that makes muscles, something that you keep expanding and bending until you get muscles. So Rudolf was always focusing on becoming big muscles and attract people physically, and I was always walking around with the guitar, playing the guitar whenever I was able to do so.
You taught him how to play guitar, right?
Huh?
You taught Rudolf how to play guitar?
No, he can play the bullwalker. He can't play guitar, believe me. And I tell you, I can't believe how many fools he fooled. But you know how he did it? This is the part I didn't actually tell you. He actually, because I gave him, because Holiday was never credited to me, the intro, and he performed it every year, every time he played for over 30 years. He performed Coast to Coast and Holiday. So people actually thought it was his work, but it wasn't. So that's how he actually, even to the people who kind of thought, there must be something about Rudolf, because he was actually presenting my work as his. You see, it was easy enough to copy, it was easy enough to perform, but it's not that makes it sound the way it sounds. It is to create that. That's where it comes from. Even, some other people like Michael Voss, my co-producer, they didn't even know all of these things. So basically, they kind of have some respect for Rudolf, because they think, well, somebody who can write a song like Coast to Coast and a song like Holiday, there must be something. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So basically, he can't. He can't play guitar. And any guitarist you ask who plays guitar well will tell you, well, I'm sure many people will discover now that, that the truth actually is that he can't, because he presented something that wasn't even his.
Yeah. I had a question. Somebody asked me to ask you, would you ever plan to do any more solo albums? This is Michael Schenker Fest. This is the third part of my life. I got everything out of my system. I did everything that I had to do, that I needed to do. I stayed true to myself as an artist, and I did everything the way I visualized for myself to do it, and it worked out the best possible way it can work out, because I was true to myself and I did exactly what I visualized to do. And so because in the middle years I got everything out of my system, that's why I am now able to do anything. I can do anything now. I can do anything I want, because all the things that needed to be done are done. There's nothing left to do that I haven't done in the way of, getting things out of my system, or to do the things that I can only do if I'm on my own. Because I have reached a point where all of that is in the past now. I went through all of that, and as a result of that, I have become the person that I am today, And so basically, from a fragile, unstable, shy person, because of the middle years, I developed into a strong, stable person. And so the middle years were the most rewarding, that shaped all of that, and that were teaching me all of that, because the first part of my life, I made my musical contribution to the world unconsciously. I didn't even know what I was doing. I just wanted to have fun playing guitar.
Kirk, when I told this to Kirk Hammett, he said, "Get out of here." Well, but that's how it went. I was just having fun. That's why I never realized that I got cheated by people. Never, because it wasn't that, it wasn't important to. I mean, I wasn't even aware of that there was such a thing as people cheating people for money or this or that, because I was just in the world. I was fascinated by the single string and what you can do with it and what you can create, the melodies that you can create, the emotions you can put into guitar with distortion. That's where my home is, and that's where I feel happy, and that's where I get my rewards. I get rewarded as I play.
What's your favorite album out of your favorite all-time album in your catalog?
My whole life is a constant journey of development. There is not such a thing, because you cannot compare any particular eras with any era, not if you look at music the way I do. Because if you, for instance, just as an example, you go from Phenomenon to Strangers in the Night. Every year I can feel and hear the development of my guitar playing. So let's say Phenomenon 72, you have a different surrounding, it's a different time, it's a different fashion, everything is 92, is 72. In 73 or 74, it's 2 years later, you have developed your guitar to another level, people dress differently, everything is different again. So what I'm trying to say is, every time you have a different outer world of circumstances. So you can never, ever compare anything with anything, because nothing ever repeats. No moment ever repeats. So for me, life has always been, don't look back, always look forward, always get to the next thing, always go to the next thing, always do the next thing, etc., etc. So it's a continuous journey of development, of improvements, of learning, of you name it, it's a journey, and there are no favorites. Every moment is as important as the next moment that brings me to where I am today.
Beautiful. Michael Schenker Fest, the tour starts in March. I know you'll be in Montreal, Canada. That's where I am. I'll come see you out there on tour. So the tour is like for the whole month of March. Can you just give me a little bit of details on the tour?
Yeah, well, we're starting on the 6th, and it goes through the United States, and it's a 5-week tour. But I think it's about, I don't have it in front of me, but I think it's about 20 concerts, 20 to 25 shows.
Yeah, looking forward to see you on tour, Michael. Thank you for being a guest again on the show.
Thank you very much.